Alright guys, welcome on in. Here is a dimensional dungeon that was just released with the update here, and in case you guys haven't found it yet, just by going to your map in the game, it's in between glacial plains and the deserted battlefield, which is also right below world boss. He's going to be coming back in roughly about 2 days right here. I haven't done it myself, but it looks like we can gain light Poseidon Soulstones from this, which is super interesting because that does basically allow us to skip that whole entire tree. Because I don't think I've taken a look at the fusion tree. Let me look at it real quick. Is that just the fusion tree itself? I mean, that would make sense if it's the exact same thing as Light Siegfried, which I'm super stoked about. Okay, it is. It is. Okay, so that's pretty poggers. I mean, we just have to get him to Evo 3 apparently. Do we have to get him to Evo 3? No, we don't have to get him to Evo 3. We just need to have him, and then we can fuse into Dark Poseidon. Okay, I am definitely down with that. That takes a lot of work out because I was praying that we don't get some type of Pepega just freaking fusion thing to get this guy. But anyways, we can farm out Soulstones for Light Poseidon here. This is capped at 3 entries per day, and from my understanding, the elements of the dimensional dungeon change with each day. I do think this coincides with the Tower of Chaos, like the elemental version of it. So on today, which is Tuesday, February 23rd for me, we have the Tower of Fire. So our element that we're fighting in the Dimensional Rift is going to be fire, and it's going to follow that same format. And then on the weekend, I'm assuming it closes down. So it's going to act just like Colossus, but just in this format with the elements as well. So everything coincides with each other. So it's another thing to get done. From my understanding, some of these mons in here are pretty nasty, but this is in-game content, so it's not a shock with that at all. And I'm super duper excited to try it out and see what type of team compositions that players come up with. But more so, what I want to talk about was the skills that come with the super ascension of your Astromon. Let me go over here and see if I can pull it up real quick though. So after we get out X amount of super ascension stones, which I can't show you with that guy right here because I literally just got him. Let me go over here real quick. So we need 100 dimensional starstones, which it's only one element it seems, which is good. So they're universal for everything. Obviously we need some high starstones and high light stones. So it's going to be a lot of farming to get to this point. But the passive skill that they can learn is random. And I do believe that we are able to re-roll that. I think we're able to re-roll that. I'm not sure if anyone has done it yet, but I think we can re-roll it with Astro Gems, though I could be wrong, so feel free to correct me on that. But let's take a look at these skills right here. I've already went ahead and took a screenshot of this just to make lives a whole bunch easier, and we can just talk about what I think is probably worth it and not worth it, even though you can't really control it. So going from the top left and going all the way down to the bottom right, we have immunity, which grants a 20% chance to remove all negative effects from the user and grants them immunity for 1 turn. In my opinion, that's fine, but not super duper amazing. Like, I could see it being useful for a CC heavy comp, but if it's only on one mon, maybe one mon can act, but they're still going to get just dragged through the dirt. So it's kind of meh. I wouldn't say that it's bad, but it's not super duper crazy for the 100 dimension stones that you have to farm out, which I think on average is going to take roughly about a month. So you can super ascend 1 mon per month depending on your playstyle and your luck. And then there's weaken, which grants a 40% chance to weaken an enemy for 1 turn. Once again, I mean, this isn't bad if in combination with something else, but 40% is a bit low, so it's not going to be something that's super duper reliable. Moving on, next is Devastating Strikes, which increases critical hit damage by 25% against enemies with lower defense. So I'm assuming if defense down or if shock is applied in this situation, that you would do more damage to the enemy, which I think is super duper wonderful, especially for more DPS based units, for the simple fact that if I debuff an enemy, I'm guaranteed to have 25% more critical hit damage against the enemy, which means dark types especially will benefit heavily from this, because 25% isn't small, but it's going to be enough to be like, it's pretty cool. And then Shared Determination grants a 50% chance every 3 turns to restore 25% of all allies SP when attacking. Definitely not bad. 50% The only thing that sucks though is 3 turns, and it's only 25% of all allies SP. So I mean, if it procs, this is good, but every 3 turns kind of makes it a bit of a bummer in my opinion. But I understand why it's like that. Moving on, Shield Breaker grants a 45% chance to dispel enemy shields. We don't talk about that. Recovery down, not even going to read that. Combat Prowess, attacks have a 50% chance every 2 turns to siphon 15% of the enemy's SP. That could be interesting. 50%, just like the Shared Determination, isn't that bad at all, and 2 turns isn't super duper ridiculous. It's just something that isn't super duper reliable either, because we do have dedicated SP siphoners, which I would use instead of hoping for this to proc. But let's say in a chance that you did an AoE with a mon that had this up there, and you were able to add SP siphon to that, I think that may actually be a little bit interesting. Like, say for instance with Dark Merlin, if Dark Merlin gets his 5-star skill off, which is his stun, if Combat Prowess would proc during this, there's a chance that I could siphon the SP of an enemy that's about to do their 5-star skill, even if the stun didn't stick. So that does add a little bit possibility right there, which would definitely be interesting. And I mean, pretty much like Weaken as well can be applied to, I'm assuming, all the targets if it does proc when you do that. So it's not super duper bad, but it's just RNG based. Fiery Resolve grants a 35% chance when attacked to increase own attack power by 50%. 35% isn't that much. It's really not that much. And for 1 turn, if you get attacked and that procs and then someone else attacks you and your mon is CC'd, congratulations, it's absolutely wasted. So it's just a slap in the face. I mean, it could also be good as a kind of like a glass cannon that has been hit and you're still able to get that attack boost off and do a whole bunch of damage, like Dark Wildfang or someone of that nature. So it would have its uses, but it's just not reliable. Unwavering Resolve grants 35% chance when getting attacked to restore 20% of own HP. Once again, this is like Adrenaline, but not really reliable, and the mons that have self-sustain already have self-sustain, so it's kind of like I'm not sure if I would necessarily want this. Like, if you get it, it's like what can you do? What can you do? But I don't think that's super duper appealing. Blessing of the Fallen grants 100% chance when falling in battle to restore 40% of allies' HP. I love 100% chance stuff. I love guaranteed things. Bless of the Fallen. So if someone dies in the team and you have Bless of the Fallen, everyone else that is alive gets 40% of their HP recovered, which could definitely save you in a PvP situation. This also means this could also save your opponent's team in a situation where you killed the biggest R word that they have on their team and everyone else gets healed, almost back to full health, especially combined with a passive healer. That would absolutely suck if you're on the opposite end of that. Protection of the Fallen grants 100% chance when falling in battle to trigger an effect that reduces damage done to all allies for 1 turn. I think Blessing of the Fallen is better because of the 40%, but I mean, Protection of the Fallen is definitely second in my book in terms of the 100% chance, because that could potentially mitigate some damage from you if someone dies and you know that the rest of the mons on that team is about to get off all of their AoEs at once. This could shield you from it and hopefully give you an advantage on the next turn with everything going on. And then Shield grants a 20% chance to grant the user a shield proportional to their own max attack power for 1 turn. It's just far too low. I'm not saying that these skills are bad, but the issue is just that a lot of these have super duper low proc rates, and in the instance that is useful, it's not going to be super duper useful. So I would say honestly, Devastating Strike is probably going to be number 1 in my book, because this guarantees that I'm going to get some extra damage as long as the enemy has either shock or defense down or weaken applied to them. That 100% guarantees that, which means the Weaken Super Ascension skill can also coincide with Devastating Strikes. It's just that it's not a reliable type of skill. So Devastating Strikes could be useful regardless of whatever Super Ascension skill that you have else on anyone else. So especially for like dark types or like Fire Draka, etc., this is super duper helpful for them because they're already built with high crit damage in some cases for Fire Draka. So this just adds in a little bit more damage to them. I'm surprised that there isn't like a weird sap ascension skill though, or like a curse one either. I'm not sure why Shield Breaker, and Recovery Down are in there, because that's just a slap in the face. I think Combat Prowess could potentially have its uses as well, because 50% is way better than 35 or 20%. And even if it can siphon one mon that my Merlin failed to stun, that's great. That's great. That means they can't get their 5-star skill off for that turn. So I definitely see some utility there. Blessing of the Fallen and then Protection of the Fallen too, I would say definitely seem like a big deal to me. Fiery Resolve also seems like it's up there. It's just that the 35% chance to me just seems hella low, unless your mon is being attacked multiple times during that same turn, which would then give you separate chances of that proccing, which is good. But if like your glass cannon is getting hit by multiple mons during that turn, there's also the possibility of that glass cannon just dying, and Fiery Resolve is going to be in the fiery graveyard. So Devastating Strikes, I would say, is number 1 in my opinion. Blessing of the Fallen would be number 2. Protection of the Fallen would be, you could argue, number 3 or 4. I would say Combat Prowess, Fiery Resolve, and Weaken, at least from my thoughts, would be the most dedicated ones. All of the rest just have super duper low probabilities or shared determination every 3 turns. It could work at the beginning of a PvP situation where everyone gets a SP boost, but it has a 3-turn cooldown. So it's already unreliable, but even so more unreliable that if you get it, that you have to wait 3 turns before it's ever used again. But these are just one man's opinions on it, you guys. I'm super stoked. Hopefully we can definitely re-roll these stats, because Devastating Strike is going to be a big focus, and I'm super duper interested in Combat Prowess. And of course this affects stuff in PvE too, but PvE is not a super big deal. I just wish that we had like a sap oriented one, or a sap one of that nature, just to go ahead and beef up our teams for golems. But yeah, I'm super stoked about this. Feel free to leave a comment below about what you guys think, what you guys personally think will be the best super ascension skill for certain type of mons. Once again, this is situational, and I only looked at this from a PvP standpoint, and I'm not even a pro PvP player, because guys, you know, your boy's nothing but a casual. But as always, guys, if you haven't considered already, go and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you like the video, boys, because it really does help keep the show going. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.